From the wise men that I've met, I see the common link between them is that their life path was very interesting, very adventurous, lots of twists and turns, falling down, getting back up, love, loss, tragedy, learning lessons from rebuilding themselves from rock bottom, and following that inner call, trusting it, stepping into the unknown and extracting the wisdom from a life well lived. Their flavor of it is always different, but there's an authenticity and just a being to them. There's a look in their eyes that they've lived life, they've touched it, and now what they share with you is truly coming from them. And if you were asked to ask these wise men, oh, what did you do about your inner child work or your mummy daddy wounds, or how were you doing your shadow work? They would probably say, what? What are you talking about? These are new buzzwords. And the spirituality path has now been taken over by the therapeutic lens, and it has its place for a certain part. And yes, it's great to acknowledge your wound, honor it, feel it. But this new crop of men are getting stuck in it, over-identifying with it, and are then having stories that are perpetually keeping them men in the past and looping themselves, and they're going back on themselves in moments of action where there's opportunities to move beyond it. That the path of the spiritual warrior, according to Don Juan in the Carlos Castaneda books, he speaks about that the spiritual warrior has an opportunity to erase his personal history, to go beyond it all. That the spiritual path is initiatory, not therapeutic. That by taking what he calls impeccable action, you continue to walk through doors and all of that becomes a thing of the past. He acknowledges he felt his wounds, had his cry or his scream, but then he got on with it and he moved. And through doing that, all of that's just so far gone. When I was in it for a year, that was the only time I would say there was suffering, because I was on an inauthentic path. Doing things that I thought I was meant to do or should do, rather than listening to that inner call, which is pretty much it. And that it's funny about following that path of intuition, that it's not that it smooth sails you into the sunset. There's many lessons we have to learn as men. A man who has everything work out perfectly is probably going to stay in boy psychology. That many of the biggest downfalls in building yourself up from the brink will form your spine and allow you to then move in the world with compassion, with more love, but a certainty in yourself, because you've touched some edges, you've felt some things, you've seen some stuff. And as you grow in wisdom, you're very grateful for all of it. The only times I could regret something is not following the inner call, not trusting myself in the moment to either take that action that I heard or speak the truth that was uncomfortable. That there's a part of you that knows. And yes, we've been filled up with societal norms, programs, contracts that people are signing. And a lot of this can come from what people are calling spirituality, that people are jumping in with the wide eyes of the seeker and taking on all of this as a religion without trusting their own inner. They're sort of putting it all out there on this is what I'm meant to do. And they're losing that authenticity and that oomph and that spark and this humanness that we can love and enjoy. Even the thing that so many people talk about suffering, or as you're more conscious, it's suffer, suffer, suffer. I don't believe this. I don't sign up to that contract. I love it here. There's lessons as you grow, big ones. But the suffering part is up to you. The pain part or the lessons is probably not. There's things we need to go through, and as you've gone through more, you understand that it is trial by fire, that through these big lessons, it's burning away the illusions and what is real, or giving you another perspective. But what is left is forged. What is left is really embodied in you. Because then you've got your authentic flavor, which will be a gift. Because men often get stuck in what they're meant to do in that scene, holding back maybe their discernment, maybe their truth, maybe that inner call to fit in a circle that maybe they were only meant to dabble in for a moment. Because there is that call of men need to feel their feelings. It's sacred for you to share your vulnerabilities and express your emotions. I was with a conscious woman, my friend that I hadn't seen in a couple of years, 2 days ago, a great woman. And she's like, "Are you speaking to men yet?" And I said, "Yeah." She goes, "I can't do it anymore. I can't be with these guys who are flipping back on themselves and wanting me to hold space for their healing and feeling and woundy stuff. And there's just no part of me that wants to get naked for this guy. Like, speak your truth, but I want a man who owns himself. You know, he owns it. Understanding that the path of a man, the wounds will create your genius. It will let your wisdoms in, but you have to let go of the stories and how it all took place and how it can be an excuse for not moving in certain directions, and step forth and move beyond. They can still flare up when your creative genius is doing it, but it's not in the way that you're identified to the past, because we can move beyond that through taking this action. And I think people get scared of action like it has to be grandiose purpose, but I'm talking about having a conversation, stepping into a new arena, quitting a job, moving somewhere. You know, these are baby steps, but because I see men are wanting some spiritual epiphany at home that will heal that, and then they can. It's not going to happen. Men have scars. Chicks dig scars. Every great myth, every great story, every great movie ever written about men is not a guy who doesn't have wounds, is a guy who got back up, learned the lessons, failed again, made mistakes, sinned, was redeemed, rebirth, overcame, stood in truth, walked towards his path, had courage to do it. That's who we love, because it evokes something in us, because that's the journey of a man. And it's like these wise men, if you spoke about the spirituality or whatever, they'd be like, "Hey, don't worry about that." They walk their path of honor. They listen to the call. There's that spark within us all. You know, and it's like, are you honoring that, or you're flipping back into the stories and the things and wanting this healing part, which has infiltrated that whole scene? And I think maybe there is people who are meant to do all this stuff, but then there's a lot of people doing it because they think they should, and they've put away their call. Because without the authenticity as the root, you're stacking all these ideas and opinions and beliefs and dogmas and teachings on top of yourself. If you start from authenticity and trust yourself, the path will look wildly different to everything else. But the wisdom that will come through, and then these teachings make a bit more sense because you've touched enough edges, you've lived enough life, you've felt enough things. And you'll be grateful for it. Because it's in these moments where I've gone off on a path, learned some lessons, come back, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing that you let me do that and come back, and now I'm grateful, and now I have a greater perspective, and I can see what I was doing wrong there. And now I'm humbled. You know, we need to be humbled enough and crack open enough to be able to love. But the humbleness doesn't mean we lose our courage and our confidence to go again. You know, sometimes we were too fiery, sometimes we were too cowardice, but we've learnt the lessons, and we go again, and we're grateful for it and understand it'll happen again. But we're not crippled into the paralysis analysis of not making a decision. Because as I said with Don Juan, he used the word impeccable action is the path of a warrior, and as you take it, you will go in, you won't even know where you came from. It's erasing the personal history through that action. And it's funny because I use imperfect action, because if I said impeccable, I think people get stuck at the starting gates. But it is about just honoring that spark within you. It's going to look different. After dudes come out of that spirituality thing and get their authenticity back and sort of do what they want, they're like, wow, I'm not doing that stuff and I'm more aligned. I feel more strong. I'm more loving. I'm more centered. And this feels what it is. And it is it. That there is something within us that knows where to move. And the action can be staying still, but it's like, can you hear it? Have you let go of the programs, the stories, the contracts that you've signed, the limiting beliefs, which I see a lot, and it hurts me when I see men having programs that are limiting their belief, that they need to suffer, that they can't get with girl because they're all liberal or feminist, that they can't do this because that'll happen. These are all stories that are pinning to the past, trapping our potential and our power. And you felt it. You felt your wound. You wanted it. Well done. It's a part of the journey. But there's opportunities to go beyond it. And there's also these waves of consciousness that happen, like during COVID, that the world's probably going to get pretty gnarly over the next course of time. And there'll be one of those. And you'll see people that get on it, and you see people that don't. And if we're attached to these stories or things of the past, or I know I'm the I am, but I have all this. It's like you can claim it, you can step into it, you can remind yourself constantly and move in this new direction with grace but power, you know? It's possible, believe it. Look at the stories and the programs that are limiting you. For manhood and victimhood don't sit in the same place. You know, and this video isn't for those who do need the therapeutic, massive traumas, need to have some sort of work done there. This is real, this happens. I'm talking about the typical woundy things that are going on that I see and speak to men. And then we need to take full accountability and responsibility for our life. The red pill said, nobody's coming to save you. You need to take full accountability for everything. That part is true. And the stories that are wrapped up into that, because it wasn't your fault, but you're a dude now, and this is your path. This is what you've been given. This is what you can alchemize into wisdom, and this will become your gifts if we can have enough ability to, take that courageous step into the unknown. Watch what happens over and over and over again. If you're interested in the Men of Knowledge community, I'll make a little video that's at the checkout, as I had a lot of questions about it, as I just said, join. But also take the leap there if that's of interest. One-on-one available for that stage. God bless. Have a great day.